Good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. The creation of the fourth order, chapter 21, instructions by Maharaj Prithu, text 36. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Aho, mamami, vitaranti, anugraham, harim, gurum, yagya, ujam, adishwaram, swadharma, yogena, yajanti, mamaka, nirantaram, choni, tale, drida, dridaha. Anyone know the meter? Okay. Aho mami vitaran. Is it?
Mamami Vitaranyana Gruham.
Harim Gurum Yogi Pucham Ishwaram Dharma Yogena Yajati Mamaka Nirantaram Chani Taledridavitaha. Okay. Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Sudharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Sudharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Nirantaram Chani Taledridavitaha.
Nirantaram Chani Taledridavitaha.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Sudharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Sudharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Nirantaram Chanitaledritavitaha.
Nirantaram Chanitaledritavitaha.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Dharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Sudharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Nirantaram Chanitaledritavitaha.
Nirantaram Chanitaledritavitaha.
Please chant.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Nirantaram Shome Tale Vrataha.
Nirantaram Shone Taledritavitaha.
Aho mamami Vitarantyanugraham.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Nirantaram Chanitaledritavitaha.
Nirantaram Shone Taledritavitaha.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Aho mamami vitarantyanugraham.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Harim Gurum Yagya Pujamadishwaram.
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka.
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti janti mamaka.
Nirantaram shonitale kritavrata.
Nirantaram shonitale kritavrata.
Aho mamami viparancha nugraham.
Aho mamami kritarantyananugraham. Harim Gurunagya Bhujam. Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka. Nirantaram Shonitale Kritavrata.
Oh, all of you. Mama, unto me. Me, all of them. Vitaranti, distributing. Anugraham, mercy. Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gurum, the Spiritual Master. Excuse me, sorry. The Supreme Spiritual Master. Yagya Bhujam, all the demigods eligible to accept yagya offerings. Adishwaram, the Supreme Master. Sadharma, occupational duties. Yogena, by dint of. Yajanti, worship. Mamakaha, having a relationship with me. Nirantaram, incessantly. Chanitale, on the surface of the globe. Dhridavrataha, with firm determination. Translation, commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices, and He is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are accepting Him, have a relationship with me and are worshiping Him by dint of your occupational duties, are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. Purport. Maharaj Prithu's advice to his citizens to take to devotional service is now concluded in two ways. He has repeatedly advised persons who are neophytes to engage themselves in devotional service according to the capacities of the different orders of social and spiritual life. But here he specifically thanks those already engaged in such devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is actually the enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, and who is also the Supreme Teacher as Antaryami, or Paramatma. There is a specific mention of the word Guru, which indicates the Supreme Personality as Chaitya Guru. The Supreme Godhead in His Paramatma feature is always present in everyone's heart, and He is always trying to induce the individual soul to surrender unto Him and to engage in devotional service. Therefore, He is the original spiritual master. He manifests Himself as spiritual master both internally and externally to help the conditioned soul, both ways. Therefore, He has been mentioned herein as Guru. It appears, however, that in the time of Maharaj Prithu, all the people on the surface of the globe were His subjects. Most of them, in fact, almost all of them, were engaged in devotional service. Therefore, He thanked them in a humble way for engaging in devotional service and thus bestowing their mercy upon Him. In other words, in a state where the citizens and the head of state are engaged in devotional service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they help one another and are mutually benefited. Om Jnanativedandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Krivachalam Pandam Langayate Girem Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitarina Vacha Kapabhisha Kripa Sindhu Bevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Right, translation, one more time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices, and He is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshiping Him by dint of your occupational duties are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. So Srila Prabhupada commenting on this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, instructions by Prithu Maharaj, he brings up different points in relation to, you could say, the governance of ISKCON, or the management and leading of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which we'll, discuss. But one thing to note is that when one, to live in this world, practically speaking, means to have relationships. And those relationships, in those relationships, we become implicated in different ways. Just like it said traditionally of a king. Do you know how much the king takes of the karma of the citizens? 1/5? Okay. I thought it was 1/6, but anyways, whatever. It's same, similar, but 1/5, 1/6, something like that. Means that whatever good things they do, he benefits from that, and whatever bad things they do, he benefits from that. So this idea of being implicated as a king, for example, or somebody has a child, somebody has a son, somebody has a daughter. You could say it's they become implicated, or at least they become affected by that child's behavior. Like if your child turns 21 and then you get a call that they just totaled their car and they got a DUI, which means driving under the influence. That affects you. You're emotionally affected by that. So to be in this world means to have relationships, and we become implicated in those relationships in different ways. So this is what Prithu Maharaj is mentioning, and Srila Prabhupada is highlighting in the purport, that the citizens, they were engaged, or some of them, a lot of them, were engaged in the service and devotional service to Krishna. And Prithu Maharaj, he was thanking them for that because he was benefiting. There's a mutual benefit going on there. And when we talk about, you could say, keeping the Hare Krishna movement going on, the basic thing that Srila Prabhupada brings up a number of times is that it should be based on, say, mutual respect and cooperation with each other. And that could be a challenge because people sometimes have issues with each other. I don't like how you think. I don't like how you do things. For example, anyone ever have that experience with people? You don't like how they think, or you don't like how they do things, maybe? Or maybe someone, they don't like how we think. means they don't like how we think, and you could say, well, how do you know what I'm thinking? Well, I express it in my voice, right? So they may not like what I think, for example, or how I think, or how I do things. I've had that experience sometimes. So it becomes a bit of a challenge because, like Srila Prabhu would bring up the point, okay, unity in diversity, right? Means that we should work together, although we're very diverse, we're different. So yeah, there's some challenges that come up in doing that, or trying to do that. And we see that, analyzing Srila Prabhupada's life, that even in his particular situation, as the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement, he also had challenges. He had difficulties in this. People respected Srila Prabhupada, people listened to him, but there were cases where they didn't listen to him. And there was even cases where Srila Prabhupada himself said that they were trying to undermine his position, his own disciples. And you know what Prabhupada's punishment was for that? Yeah, he gave him sannyas. It's interesting. Sometimes when you think about, if you're in management or something, you think about punishing someone or rectifying somebody's behavior. Usually, sometimes the idea is, okay, you take service away, right? Okay, you're not doing that anymore, or you're banned from the temple or something like that. But Prabhupada's punishment was that, okay, we're giving you sannyas. There's a couple of them, men, and he sent them out preaching. Very interesting. So, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned at least one time, that he said that a spiritual movement in the material world, very difficult proposition. Means it'll be challenging. And sometimes when people, they come to the Hare Krishna movement, they may be expecting some perfection. They may be expecting perfection, things to be perfect. So then the question is, well, what is that perfection? And then taking to Krishna consciousness, they start to develop certain ideas about what that perfection will look like. Generally looking out at ISKCON and generally seeming to think that it's imperfect. So the question is, what would that perfection look like? What would a perfect ISKCON look like? Does anybody want to? Some may say, well, it is perfect. What do you think?
Everybody gets along.
Everybody gets along? That'd be very good, right? No more fighting? No more quarrel? Yes.
Everyone values loving relationships amongst each other, so therefore, works together to resolve conflicts. It's impossible that we're all going to get along all the time, because in this real world there's always some conflict. But it would be a perfect ISKCON would be that we would be very good at managing conflicts and resolving them very quickly.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because you have to, in order to manage conflict, somebody has to be humble. Means, yeah, you have to put aside the false ego and just try to communicate soul to soul. But yeah, it's a good point, this stressing relationships based on priti, or love. As Rupa Goswami says, Tadati priti grinati guyamakati prichati punkte bojate chaiva shadvadim priti lakshanam, that there are 6 loving exchanges, right? Giving prasadam, accepting prasadam, giving gifts, accepting gifts, inquiring, confidentially, and revealing one's mind. These are the 6 symptoms of love shared between one devotee and another. So a perfect ISKCON, that would be going on a lot, right? Any other ideas? Yes.
Very, very seriously following Srila Prabhupada's instructions.
Okay, seriously following. Okay.
if the samosas would only be fried in ghee.
All right. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that. And of course, some people wouldn't. but a lot of people would, yes.
Just that the process is perfect, actually, just really understand, follow,
Yes. The process is perfect. We just need to understand and follow. Yeah. Yeah, because some people would say, okay, well, we have these ideas. What does perfection look like? And they say, okay, I'll cooperate once everything's perfect. Well, from a particular point of view, that's not going to happen. Now, the question is, it's interesting because in previous, I was looking at this verse and meditating on a verse about 10 verses ago, text 26. And then Srila Prabhupada, he makes a very interesting comment about perfection. The Krishna conscious movement in relation to perfection. He says in the purport of text 26 of this chapter, which obviously you went through, but we're just going to look back. We usually don't do that, but here's the statement he makes at the end of the purport. He says, since the Krishna consciousness movement going on at the present moment is genuine, perfect, and authorized, and is following in the footsteps of Prithu Maharaj, anyone who cooperates with this movement or accepts its principles will get the same result as the workers who are actively propagating Krishna consciousness. So it's interesting, Srila Prabhupada, he describes it as perfect. He describes it as perfect. Now, someone may say, because this was written in, 1975 or in the 70s. So someone may say, okay, well, Srila Prabhupada was writing it there, and at that point, some people may say this, and at that point it was considered perfect, but now it's not. So the question is, were there any problems when Srila Prabhupada was here within ISKCON? There was. Because sometimes there's an idea, devotees who join in 2023 or 2022 or 2024, they think, yeah, I'd like to join. I wish I would join in the 70s or 60s or whatever, right? Which, of course, we could understand why someone would think like that, because, yeah. But there were problems there. There were scandals. There were issues. There was problems. Srila Prabhupada was removing temple presidents because of problems. Srila Prabhupada was removing GBCs. I mean, you got to do something kind of out of line to be removed as a temple president or a GBC. But still, Srila Prabhupada was commenting here. He was saying it's perfect. There were sannyasis. I mean, sannyasi means, okay, you take sannyas and then you practice Krishna consciousness, you preach Krishna consciousness, and you go back to Godhead. You don't get involved at all in the world, the dealings of the world. You don't go back to that. But in Srila Prabhupada's presence, there was devotees giving up their sannyas and going back, breaking their vows. So there were issues, but still Srila Prabhupada was saying it's perfect. He's saying the Krishna conscious movement going on at the present moment is genuine, perfect, and authorized. So it's perfect. It's perfect in that it will, if you got initiated recently, right? You got initiated recently, right? So did they add something to your name? Okay, Chandrika, okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, as you were mentioning that if one follows the process seriously, because the process is perfect, if one follows it, one will get the result. As Lochan Das Thakur mentions in one of his songs, he says, do not think that this chanting and dancing will not bring you to the desired result. It will. And as some devotees mention, but we have to do it. So yes, by following the principles that ISKCON is presenting, or that Srila Prabhupada's movement is presenting, one will attain perfection. So in that way, it's perfect. All right, so just a few more things. And Krishna, in the form of Chaitya Guru, he'll help us. He's in the heart. Krishna is as the Paramatma, he's in everyone's heart, and he is guiding us, he's directing us, he's giving us the intelligence how to do things, and the intelligence how not to do things. He'll help us. And not only does Krishna appear, not only is he there within the heart helping us, trying to give us good advice all the time, at every moment, but he appears externally as the spiritual master, as the guru. And the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada points out in the purport, in one purport in the 4th canto, forgetting exactly where it is, but we can look it up. It says that Krishna, he gives the spiritual master unlimited intelligence how to guide the disciple. That's a lot of intelligence, unlimited intelligence. So in this way, the conditioned soul is guided. Brahmande Brahmati Kon Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Bij, that the conditioned soul, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that they're wandering from species to species, planet to planet. They're wandering in the cycle of birth and death. And the Bhagavan Jeev, or the fortunate soul, what happens to them? They win the lottery? Yeah, in some sense, they do the Krishna conscious lottery. But the fortunate soul, what happens to them? They come in contact, by the mercy of Krishna, they come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, authentic spiritual master. And then what happens? They get the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion. And by watering that seed, and that watering process is hearing and chanting about Krishna, then that plant grows, and eventually it produces the fruit of love of God. So this hearing and chanting, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Saddha Kavanoi Shavanada Shubhe Koridoi, that by, again, it's a Nitya Siddha, it's eternally within the heart, and by hearing and chanting, it awakens. And yes, this is a whole process. And in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada quotes from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the science of devotional service, which is Srila Prabhupada translated Nectar Devotion. And for those, if you have time and inclination, it's really amazing to look at Rupa Goswami, because that book has been translated by Bhanu Swami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But if you look at Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the original manuscript, and you look at Prabhupada's Nectar Devotion, and you read them side by side, it's really amazing how Prabhupada translated it and gave summary study. Practically, it's the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But anyways, in that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, This is in the 4th chapter, text 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, the purport. The process is outlined. Okay, Adao, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhu, Sangha, and it goes on, the whole process, all the way up to Prema. So he says that in the beginning, one must have some preliminary desire for self-realization. So we have to have some interest. And then we'll start associating with devotees, seriously associating with devotees, which could go, says like it's like a razor's edge. You could benefit or it could cause harm. Of course, if we associate properly, then it will benefit. But that's the idea, to associate properly, not offend the devotees. So we associate with them. And then the next stage, one becomes initiated. Who's initiated here? Okay, almost everybody. There's a few. You also got initiated recently, right? Okay, nice. So one becomes initiated, and everybody should think about that. They should consider that, they should think about it, and become convinced that it's a good thing to do. And then they become initiated. And then under the instruction of the spiritual master, they begin the process of devotional service. And then they become free from material attachment. So there's this cleansing of the heart, cleansing of the consciousness, Cheto, Darpana, Marjanam, that goes on. Then one attains steadiness, or Nishta, one becomes steady in their progress, steady in their Krishna consciousness. And then they get a taste. Now these processes, it's not that it's like, okay, I woke up this morning and now, because one of the platform of steadiness is called Nishta, right? So it's not that I woke up this morning and now I'm on the Nishta platform. You know, I just this morning it happened. But they're overlapping each other. So when it says that one develops taste or attraction, it doesn't mean that one didn't have attraction before. It just means becomes more solidified. Or like the faith, you know, the faith is always, yeah. All right, so then a taste for hearing about Krishna. This taste leads further forward to attachment, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. And then later, real love of God is called prema, the highest perfectional stage. So we're trying to make our way up, you could say, this ladder, and trying to attain the goal, which, as when we say the 10 offenses in the morning, what is the goal? Yes, Krishna prema. One should avoid the 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna prema. So within this process, again, Krishna, he will help us, but we have to want the help. And aside from wanting the help, we actually have to do some work. Also, it's not automatic. It doesn't just happen. And Prabhupada give the example of like a well. Now, if a well becomes covered with grass, someone wasn't doing their job, cutting the grass. It becomes covered with grass, and somebody falls into it, and they're stuck in that well. So how do they get out? There needs to be someone who throws a rope. So the idea is that Krishna, the spiritual master, they throw the rope of bhakti, and then we have to grab that rope, and then they'll pull us out. So yeah, there has to be those two going on. And then we're sure to be successful. Success is assured. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes.
When you're talking about Bhagavatam, it's like perfect.
Yes.
his ISKCON is perfect, but I think all the followers are not, because they're not following exactly what he says to do.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
You mentioned with association, when someone comes to association, it's almost like on an edge of a razor blade,
Yeah.
and one side, and you said one side could be harmful. What would be an example of that?
Okay. There's example in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of one person named Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri was the spiritual master of Ishvara Puri, and he had also another disciple named Ramchandra Puri. So, and Ishvara Puri eventually became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. So, in Madhavendra Puri's last days in this world, he was on his disappearance bed, and he was remembering Krishna there. And one disciple, Ishvara Puri, he was helping his spiritual master remember Krishna by reciting pastimes and chanting the holy names and so on. And Madhavendra Puri, he was in the mood of lamentation, but it was spiritual lamentation. He was lamenting that, I haven't achieved the goal of my life. I haven't achieved Krishna. And then his disciple Ramchandra Puri, who had a bit of a Mayavadi leaning, to say the least, you could say he had impersonal tendencies. He started to criticize his spiritual master in front of him, and he said, "Oh, Gurudev, why are you lamenting? It says in the Bhagavad Gita that one who is spiritually realized, they don't lament. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, you shouldn't be lamenting. And you should meditate on Brahman, right, and personal effulgence." So Madhavendra Puri, he didn't like this. First of all, it was out of etiquette. You shouldn't criticize or correct the spiritual master. It's not the disciple's role. But aside from that, he was meditating on Krishna, and then he's telling him, don't meditate on Krishna, meditate on Brahman effulgence. And why are you lamenting? In other words, his disciple was completely missing the point. So then at that point, Madhavendra Puri, he told Ramchandra Puri, he said, "Get out, you sinful rascal." And he said, I do not want to see you, and I don't know what will happen to me if I see your face while I'm leaving this world. So he just left. But the other example was Ishvara Puri, who was very menially serving his spiritual master, cleaning up and just very humble. So these are the two examples. Ishvara Puri, by humbly serving and following his spiritual master and his instructions, he became such an empowered devotee that he became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. You have to be a pretty qualified spiritual master to be that, right? And then what happened to Ramchandra Puri? He became a criticizer, an offender of everyone. When he went to Jagannath Puri, what he would do, he would invite devotees to take prasadam. He would say, please come here, take prasadam. I have a nice prasadam for you, Jagannath prasadam. And then he would encourage them, eat more, eat more. Sometimes you go to homes and they do that, right? So he was encouraging them to do that. And then afterwards, you know what he said? He said, I heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, they eat too much prasadam. And now I've seen it with my own eyes, just see. He would induce them to do it. And then he became such offender, he even went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was living in the small quarters, and Ramchandra, he came and he saw some ants there. And Prabhupada makes the point in the purports that there's ants everywhere. It's just not that necessary. There's not necessarily a reason why there's ants. Ants are everywhere. But Ramchandra Puri, there's a nice picture. You can look it up in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's looking very frightened. and you have Ramchandra Puri there, and he's pointing to the ants, and he's saying, just see, there's ants here, and this means that you're keeping sweets. And a sannyasi shouldn't keep sweets. He was criticizing Lord Chaitanya. And it said that eventually, Lord Chaitanya, he reduced his eating because Ramchandra, and all the devotees were very upset with Ramchandra. Eventually Ramchandra, he left, Jagannath Puri. But what's brought up in there is that if one offends the devotees and becomes critical, unnecessarily critical, then their heart becomes flooded with material desires, and certain tendencies sprout in their heart. So in that way, it's dangerous. But then we shouldn't think that, okay, it's dangerous to associate with devotees, so I shouldn't associate. We shouldn't think like that. We should just positively associate with devotees, how it's recommended. But know the negative effect. We have to be careful about the other side. So that's an example. I mean, there's many other examples in scripture and also in modern day examples. There's a nice example in the 4th canto of Shiva, Lord Shiva and Daksha. How Daksha offended Lord Shiva. Very interesting example. Yes.
Fun fact, Ramnam is playing Daksha in our Lord Shiva play on Shiva Ratri.
Oh, you are? Wow.
I'm playing Lord Shiva.
Oh, wow.
So,
I wish I was here for that. I really do.
So I have 2 things. One,
Maybe you could live stream it.
We have a YouTube channel now, so you can see all our classes.
Nice.
One thing I just want to comment.
Nothing replaces in person, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the comment is just about Ramchandra Puri, that I found that pastime kind of enlivening because it showed the way devotees, even the devotees were like we were expecting to be. You think the devotees are always so nice, and but they were really happy when Ramchandra Puri left. They were like ecstatic when he left.
Yes.
And so sometimes even you'll find that devotees, they're people. It kind of made me realize there's like a personality there, and he was causing a lot of trouble in the community, and they were happy when he left.
Yeah.
But my question is, you were explaining cooperation and the necessity for cooperation in ISKCON, and how sometimes people don't like your way of thinking, sometimes you don't like other people's ways of thinking, and is there any advice you can give on how to become more tolerant of other people's thinking, and just things that may bother you, and also how to deal with someone who is not liking your thinking?
Well, what do you think?
The only thing I can think is be more tolerant, but
Be more tolerant. Yeah, it's interesting. There's actually something brought up in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about developing tolerance, because naturally we hear that, okay, if you chant sincerely, then all of these things will come, these qualities. But it's true that they will. And one will become more and more tolerant through proper chanting and hearing about Krishna. But I mean, I remember years ago, I would sometimes be, I would say, disturbed or kind of troubled by sometimes people's behavior or how they acted, but then I over time I thought about it, and I changed my thinking that everybody, I mean, they're going to be how they're going to be. I mean, I'm not. I mean, there's certain personalities that people have different personality types. People have different backgrounds. So I decided to, from that point, try to accept people for who they are, not try to change them according to my perception. And I found that helped a lot. Just to accept people, like this is how they are. And of course you could say, well, it's easy to do that if the person's manifesting good qualities or kindness or so on. What if they're not manifesting that? But still, we accept people for who they are, and ultimately we have to learn how to how to love people. I don't want to get too sentimental, but we have to see them in relation to Krishna because they are related to Krishna. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what does he say? Mamaya Vangsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanata. That all these entities are my part and parcels. In other words, they're part of me. So by developing our Krishna consciousness more, we will see people like that as part and parcel of Krishna. And whatever particular state they're in, or whatever particular state I am, whatever particular state we're all in, if we learn how to see everyone as related to Krishna, then it becomes much easier to deal with people. And because we see Krishna there. Just like Prabhupada, he was walking in San Francisco one time. He walked in San Francisco a number of times, but one time he was walking there, he's walking with Mukunda, his disciple, and Mukunda was embarrassed. There's people, hippies, right? Just doing all type of hippie stuff around. It's kind of a tamasic atmosphere from a point of view. And he was embarrassed bringing his spiritual master through such a dirty, place, dirty part of town, and people just being hippies. And Mukunda, he kind of was trying to, I don't know, seemed to be wanting to. Anyways, when he mentioned to Srila Prabhupada, he said that, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, nice night." It's kind of nice night, right, Srila Prabhupada? I mean, we're just looking around, people are laying on the ground, drugged out and dirty and this and that. Nice night, Prabhupada, right? And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, it is a very nice night. And he's saying this, because it means because Krishna's there. He was actually seen as a nice night. It means Krishna's energies, Krishna's there. So if we try to work on our Krishna consciousness, because that's the real solution ultimately, we work on our Krishna consciousness more and more and more, then we'll be able to deal and cooperate. Really, yes.
Also, they say that the faults that you see in others are faults of your own. So if you kind of get reflective on who you are and maybe why are you reacting that way to this person, and kind of look at yourself.
Yeah. And also, this point of introspection. I mean, there was one devotee in Mayapur, and he came to two GBC men, and he started criticizing like everyone. He started criticizing GBCs, temple presidents, Sankirtan devotees, cow protection devotees, farm devotees. He was really, just everybody was criticizing. And then,
Hot washer too?
yeah, everybody. And these two devotees were really surprised. They're like, wow. I mean, this is kind of impressive, right? To be able to criticize everybody. So then at one particular point, Niranjana Swami, he was the person who this devotee was complaining to. And then Niranjana Swami told this devotee, I could see that you're very expert in finding faults. And he said, but if you examine your own heart, there'll be sufficient subject matter. That was his response. But it's actually good because Bhaktisiddhanta, I mean, it's a really good, Bhaktisiddhanta, Saraswati Thakur said we should focus on our own problems, we have a lot of work. So, but anyways, yes. Any last question or comment?
Beautiful class, by the way. I just have a quick thing that I was thinking about recently on how different Prabhupada disciples, they serve Prabhupada in different ways, and they have a certain an idea of how to serve him, and of course that's reflected in the spiritual world, and there's also little cliques and competitiveness around that, and you kind of see it also manifest pervertedly here and in our ISKCON movement. And I'm wondering if there is a definite reference point of what Prabhupada really wanted and really wanted to imbibe within the ISKCON movement. I think that there's just so many different perspectives, and people take different parts of what Prabhupada said from different lectures or different things, and they kind of take it in their own way or implicate it in their different ways. But I'm wondering if there is a definite example that we could exemplify, if there's some sort of resource or some sort of thing that I could that's more tangible, like, because of course there's a standard and there's a certain mood that he really wanted to and have everything encapsulate. So I was wondering if there because I know there's different egos and there's different ways of approaching everything, but I'm wondering, I think everything kind of gets lost and kind of confused and kind of bewildering at some times as to what he truly wanted. So this is kind of,
All right.
yeah.
I could comment on that briefly. Of course, it's a big discussion, but we'll just briefly. In terms of, Srila Prabhupada gave so many instructions. It's amazing, actually. If you look at other religious traditions and you look at the founders of those religious traditions, in relation to what Srila Prabhupada, how much he spoke, there's no comparison. And it's all recorded. There's so many lectures, conversations, morning walks, his books. It's a lot of material. Scholars, they have a hard time, going through all of that. Devotees have a hard time going through all of that. It's a lot, which is good. And then, like you said, there's people, they read certain things and they come to certain conclusions. And as William Blake, we're quoting William Blake a lot this trip. All glories to Dr. Blake, but he said, both you read the Bible day and night. I read white and you read. Both you and I read the Bible day and night. I read white and I read black and you read white. So in other words, we're reading the same books, but we're coming with different conclusions. And ultimately, a very important thing to note is that the ability to understand, it's not just about reading and learning all types of facts. The ability to understand really comes through purification of consciousness. As one devotee, quoting some philosopher, which relating it to Krishna consciousness, but he said that a book is like a mirror. So let's say this book's like a mirror. So, okay, the book's like a mirror. Now, if an ape looks into a mirror, you can't expect a prophet to look out. In other words, if my consciousness isn't purified, how can I understand? So it's a very important thing to understand, that we need to be purified. But anyways, but aside from that, what did Srila Prabhupada want, or what does Srila Prabhupada want? One thing is that this Krishna consciousness, we're personalists. So that means everyone's going to serve in a different way. We may serve in similar ways, but we're individuals. And we have certain inclinations, and we're going to serve. Some people express their love for Krishna through farming. It's an authentic way to do that. Some express it through book distribution. Some express it through worshiping the deities. So there's different ways of expressing our love for Krishna. Of course, it should be centered on chanting the holy names as well. And that's ultimately what Srila Prabhupada wanted. And he was in Atlanta, and we'll end with this, but he was in Atlanta, and he was, it was just a packed room full of devotees. And these were all the Radha Damodar party, book distributors, Harinam, brahmacharis, and some sannyasis, right? Packed room. And then Prabhupada was there speaking. And then Narendra Prabhu from Los Angeles, those of you who know him, but he raised his hand and he said, Srila Prabhupada, he said, yeah, what pleases you the most, Srila Prabhupada? And then he was expecting, and everyone was expecting in the room, Prabhupada was going to say, book distribution, because that's what they're all doing. And many times Prabhupada said that it's important, most important service and so on. And that's what they're all expecting. They're just waiting to hear it. And then Prabhupada said, what pleases me the most is if you love Krishna. So whatever service that is, that's like to come to that point. So that's what he wants, ultimately. Yeah. But it's a big discussion, but I guess it's time to serve breakfast now. So, all right, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
That's fantastic.
Hare Krishna. You got this.